Plus, I've got like bright lights in my face. With ask for permissions consent card. With ask for permissions consent card. Okay, let's start there. With ask for permissions consent card. And in here, I'm going to have, do you guys do it as an array? You do it as an array, and then I take those individual strings that I have here, and I just want given name, Alexa profile this, that goes here, like so. And then, okay, I think I got it. So what I'm doing is conditionally adding this. What I'm going to do is, if I look at my data, I'm going to have to add a new column that is, we should add it here, insert left, name. And this is going to be a string. Yeah, it's just a simple string. Okay, so I have name now. What I'm going to do is say, if they have a name, then don't do this. So I'm going to say, if session attributes user.name doesn't equal undefined, which basically means that I have a name for them in the database. If it doesn't equal undefined, then I want to add this permissions consent card. And I don't have that for anybody right now. So let's save and run our code and see if that was enough to get some interesting things to happen. And we'll have to add some speech, so let's add that. Add some speech to speak output to let the user know we asked for permission. Okay, so that is good. We should now be able to come back here and let's refresh this simulator. Thank you guys for the help. That was great. Now we're going to say open voice developer. And I haven't added any speech, but it should just welcome me, right? Unless we throw
This is voice developer.
Cool.
Another thing I can do is play speech cons, like this. Bazinga! Just ask me to say a speech con. What should we do now?
Okay, so now I have my app, and if I go into the app and I look at activity, I don't have anything there. There's no card. All right, let's get a little more hardcore about this. Let's take away my conditional stuff for now, so that it just does it every time. I don't think there's anything else I need there. In fact, we could even go like hardcore and just take it right there and drop it right here. That's about as deliberate as I can get with it. Okay, let's try that again. I also thought that I would get a open voice developer.
This is voice developer. By the way, I can give you the latest Alexa developer news. Just say what's new? What should we do now?
Is there an error I'm not seeing? Oh, here we go. So I asked for permissions consent. Where do I find that in the app? It should be under activity, right? There it is. Boy, it's not in any obvious order. I don't know how they sort this activity feed, but update permissions, and then This is so clunky. I'm allowing them to have my first name, and I'm going to save my permission. Okay, that's fantastic, but now let's think about what this really means for a user interaction. They open the skill. Let's come back up here to where we had this. That should do the same thing, so I feel good about that. Session attributes.name shouldn't have existed, but I feel like that was my problem. Okay, so let's think through the user flow for this. User comes in, they open the skill. I say, hey, I just sent a card to your app so that you can give me permission for your first name, or whatever I say. The user pretty much has to stop using the skill, right? Or maybe they keep talking. Wow, this is just not a good experience. So I've requested permission to get your data, but until I get your data, I can't actually call the API to get your data. So I don't want to call this thing every time. How do I know when is there a way for me to check and see that I have permissions? Let's go back to that. Because there's three cases here. There's I don't have permission, in which case I need to prompt the card for you to ask you for permissions. There's I do have permission, but I haven't actually gotten your data yet. And then there's I do have permission and I've already gotten your data yet. Those are my three cases. Okay. Okay, we're gonna do this. So use skill permission accept. So test the API. Great. So I need to make a get call here and pass in some properties. We're gonna just have to brute force this, I think. Okay, so we're gonna have some. I think we're gonna do this in a different place. We're not gonna do it in the launch request. We're gonna do it everywhere. Oh, this is gonna get so messy. I'm gonna do this in a very efficient, effective way. But I hate it, if that's fair. Let's create a function. Is this simple? It's not super simple. Where's like a super simple one? There we go. Nice and simple. Okay. File, save as. We're going to call this get user first name. What does that say? That's a lot of writing in purple. To check if permissions granted, I use session attributes.notifications enabled. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. That may be where I end up. Get get user permissions, get user first name. Because realistically, the other thing that is important to keep in mind is that if I have multiple permissions that I want, while I'm popping a card saying, hey, I would really like your first name, when they say check your permissions, they have the ability to approve any and all of them. So it's not really about getting users first name, it's about getting them to look at their permissions and check them. But we're going to call this get user first name because that's what we're trying to do. We're going to rip all of this out because we don't really need a lot of it. So this is going to be called get user first name with a capital U, please. Okay. And that means this goes here, and then we have some other get user, get TU, get user first name. I love when I get it right on the first try. Get user. Okay. Okay. So now get user first name is the file we're working in. This is not our URL. We're actually going to lose that entirely. This is one of the first times we're making a call that isn't an Airtable call. But we're looking. Come back, please. We're looking for. This is the API endpoint. This is the chunk that I'm going to add to it. Yeah, we'll do that. It's going to be profile.given name, so let's make sure we change that. So this is going to be given name. And the first thing that I'm going to pass in here is API endpoint. And that's going to go here. Okay, so if we go back to launch request, which I don't think is where I'm going to do this anymore, but we'll keep it there for now. I have API endpoint right here. Yeah, I think I'm going to move all this out. So we're going to take all of this away out of launch request because they could also one-shot my skill and completely avoid it. So what we're going to do instead is go into index, into our, if you guys watched Office Hours yesterday, I talked about this a little bit, but I have this response log. And so this is the last thing that happens before my skill response gets sent. And so what I could do here is say, well, we'll just paste this here. So I can get these two values, and then we can just take this for now. And do that. And that should do the same thing. I have a hit list of upgrades I'd like to, and better permission settings reporting is one of them. Okay, multiple permissions testing is a gap in the Alexa request structure. You don't know which permissions have been granted. Yes. And that they even said that right here in the docs somewhere. I just saw it. I just read this. Because API access token is included in all skill requests, you cannot use the presence of API access token to determine whether or not you need permissions. Instead, you need to call the API and check the response code. So they are really recommending that you're calling this API all the time. Hope they're ready for me, because I'm coming for them. So this is now the last thing that I do. I think this should still work. I'd like to go back in and turn my permissions off. I wonder if I can do that. Settings. Manage account permissions, turn it off, save. Okay, so I've turned that off. Not that it matters at this point, but I want to make sure I'm not breaking my skill by doing this. So I think I can still do this late. I just want to make sure. So refresh some code. It's running nicely. Come to the simulator, refresh.
This is Voice Developer. Did you know that you can ask for sound effects? Just say something like, Play a laser sound effect. What would you like to do next?
It'd be nice if these cards had timestamps on them too. Well, it didn't error, and I can see here that it is asking for it. So I've at least checked the box. I've done the thing that I need to do, which is great. So it didn't error, and I sent the card. Whether or not I can actually find that in my activity, that's another story. It's not even giving them to me in any order. Like, I don't understand. Okay, well, I can see the card is there, and I'm not getting an error. So that, thank you very much, Surly Dev. So this is working. We are making a request for permissions. What we need to know now is if we already have that permission. If we already have it, we don't need to send another card. And so that is the thing that I was going to look at down here, which is the request example. So I have this new file, get user first name, and we have our API endpoint that we just passed in, and it has, well, we haven't actually passed it in. Here. Okay, so we're going to eventually break this out and do this somewhere else, but for now, we could say if something, if whatever I'm about to do gives me a response that makes me want to do this, then I'm going to do it. But I don't know what the if is yet. So we'll just say if 1 equals 1, and then here this is going to be where I make my call, and that's what get user first name is. So method get, is that they want to get? Yeah, get, and authorization is going to be something. Authorization is going to be, that should be the API access key, right? Access token. So that goes there, which means that here I need to do var, I don't know what I'm calling this, permission. I don't think it's going to be Boolean, but we'll call it, we'll pretend like it is for a second. Permission equals await data.get user first name. And in here we're passing API endpoint, API access token. So far so good. Okay, what else needs to be in here? And what does the body of my message look like? This. The endpoint for the customer profile depends on the geograph. As shown in this JSON snippet, you can get the appropriate base URL. I have the API endpoint. That's not what I want. So what is the body? Do I need a body? Maybe I don't even need a body. The response example will look like this. And I'll get a 403 if it fails, I think is what they said. All right, so don't need that. We're just going to return R. All right, let's give this a run. Await. Await is only valid in async functions at the top level. How about that? How do you like me now? How do you like me now? There we go. Okay, so back here, open voice developer, don't break.
Hello, and welcome to Voice Developer. This skill can give you information and answers about Alexa skill development. By the way, I can give you the latest Alexa developer news. Just say what's new? What should we do now?
Okay, let's do a little console logging. Permission. See what's going on there. Let's do a little stringification. What's something quick? Did we ever finish that?
Jeff, I had trouble doing what you asked.
Cool.
Please try again.
Okay. Open voice developer.
Hello, and welcome to Voice Developer. Did you
Great.
know I can repeat what I just said? Just say, repeat that, to hear anything I say a second time.
Invalid
What would you like to do next?
Well, I would not have expected invalid token. That should... What? Am I thinking about this wrong? Oh, somebody's going off. Let's see. Intose Luluped is here. Welcome. Jeff, I look different. I don't know how I look different. Is it because of the glasses? Well, welcome. Surly Dev says he's got to jump to a town hall. That's the worst. Why do people schedule things? Okay, so we'll keep going. So, am I doing this right? Am I thinking about this value? That value should be my API access token, right? What else would that be? Authorization. The current access token in the former bearer space your access token. Yeah, that's right. And I'm getting a 401 unauthorized. I mean, we're making progress. We're calling APIs, right? It's given name with like a capital N too, right? Given name. V2 accounts current settings profile. V2 accounts current settings profile. Given name. Okay. Well, I mean, we'll drop that one out there too, I guess. I just don't know. I don't know what I'm fighting here. I don't even know why that wouldn't work. Open voice developer.
Welcome to the Voice Developer. Did you know I can repeat what I just said? Just say, repeat that, to hear anything I say a second time.
Okay.
What